Hi everyone, Chris here with Balena, and today I just wanted to take some time to show you our Inky shop project that we've recently finished. This is a Raspberry Pi Zero in a custom case with a Pimoroni Inky Fat display on the front. Every day it will load a random motivational quote, and you can also send it messages so you can say exactly what you want to display on the screen. It's quite a simple project, especially if you're just getting started with Raspberry Pis or Balena. I'll take you through it and let's see what we can do. So we have all the parts that we need right here. We've got our Raspberry Pi power supply, we've got a Raspberry Pi Zero WH, Pimoroni Inky Fat, SD card reader, and an 8GB SD card. If you just want to build the project and you're not too worried about making a case for it, those are all the parts you need. However, we've also got a couple of 3D printed parts, and the STL files for these are in the GitHub repo for the project. A little micro USB PCB that allows us to relocate the micro USB from the Raspberry Pi to the back of the case, and some screws to hold it together, and a couple of little bits of wire to connect the USB port power to the Pi. Okay, so now we've got all the hardware ready, we're going to get the software ready. We'll head over onto the GitHub repo. I'll put the links in the description so you can head straight there. The cool thing about this project is that we've built it to use the deploy to Balena button. So you can see that in the repo just here. And so typically when you build a Raspberry Pi project, you'll be downloading the OS and then you'll be figuring out how you get the project software onto the OS that you've just installed. So with this button, we're going to click that and it's going to tell a Balena Cloud application this is what we want to deploy. We'll click the button, we'll head over to Balena Cloud, we'll create an application, and we'll download an OS image, and that will add that device to our application so that when we power it on, it's automatically going to download the code. So let's do that now. I've already signed into my Balena Cloud account just here, but I haven't got any applications yet. If I head to the GitHub repo, I can hit deploy with Balena. And you'll see this takes us to the dashboard and it says create and deploy to application. So I'm going to leave mine called Inky Shop. You want to select your device type here to be the device that you're actually using. So here we're using a Raspberry Pi Zero. So we'll choose that. And then we'll just hit create and deploy. In the background, that's taking the code from GitHub and preparing it within this application. So that every device we add in this application, and that can be many devices, it doesn't have to be just one, they will all run the same software. And you can see here it's started to build the release, which means it's doing that work in the background. So while that's happening, we will add a device to this application. I want this to be on Wi-Fi. And so when you put in your Wi-Fi credentials, what it's doing in the background is taking those credentials and embedding them into the SD card image that you're about to download. So that means as soon as you power up your Pi, it already knows about your Wi-Fi network and will connect to this application and start to download the code. So I'm going to hit download. We're done with this now. So we can see our code is still building in the background while our image is downloading. So while we're waiting for that, we'll take the SD card and I'll head over here and plug this into my Mac. Next thing we need to do is get Etcher, and we want to, you can see Balena Cloud Inky Shop Raspberry Pi, open that, flash, and we have to put our password in just because it needs confirmation that you want to overwrite the contents of this SD card. Okay, so our SD card is finished flashing, so we can take that out now. For the initial test, we can just plug the Pi in. We don't need to build the case yet. I've got some power over here. We can insert the SD card. The Inky Fat is super easy to fit. It just clips on to the GPIO headers on the Pi, and you can squeeze it like that. So if we power this up now, should see a green light to say that we've got power. What that's going to do now is it's going to join the Balena Cloud application that we've created, and it's going to go ahead and download that release that was processing in the background. Okay, so the device has appeared on our dashboard now, so we can see here it's starting to come up. It's connecting for the first time. So now you'll see the status in the dashboard has changed once more. So we can see right now it's showing the device online, and you can see it's got a status of updating. So if we click into the device, we can see what's actually going on there. We can see it's downloading the latest release of our code. Everything that the Inky project needs has been copied from GitHub to the Balena Cloud application in the background. And now, since we've added a device to the application, it's currently downloading that onto our device over here. Okay, so now it's done. So you can see the container is starting. And when that starts, we should see the screen update and show the same quote as this one here. So now it says running any second now. Here we go, here's the update. So you can see they're both showing the same quote, but I've actually customized this one to show a smaller font size. And you can find all the customization options in the README. So back to the GitHub repo, you can see font size I've overridden on this device. You've got a couple of options. If you just leave it with the default settings, the device is going to download a quote of the day, as you can see here, and it'll do a different one every day. But what you can also do is customize the message that's displayed. So I'm going to head over to the Balena Cloud dashboard and go into my device again. And so we can add a device variable. If we quickly go back to the GitHub repo, we can see it says message override. And it says, override the daily quote with a shot of celebration by setting the inky message environment variable. So if we head to the Balena Cloud dashboard, if we add a variable and we say inky message, say, hey there, Balena fans, and click add. So what that's going to do is send that message to our device, which is over there, and then it will override the quote of the day. So if we go back to the device status, you can see the service is stopping to apply the new variable, and then it will start up again and update the display. Here we go. And so another thing we can do, as I mentioned, is customize the font size. So if we head again back to the GitHub repo, we can see font size. Now we've recently added a cool feature in that if you set this font size really small, it uses a pixel font, which looks quite cool. So if I set this to size 8, add that. This is updated with the pixel font, which I think is quite cool. Okay, and of course at any time you're free to unset those device variables. If I go in and delete the inky message, it will just revert to the quote of the day. Okay, so now we've got the application up and running. Remember, it's an e-paper display, so you can unplug the device at any time and it retains the same message. We've designed this custom case. The STL files are available in the same GitHub repo as the code in the assets directory, and we've designed this to be super easy to put together. Just need a couple of M3 nuts, a couple of M3 screws. These are M3 by 8 with a countersunk head. If we start by putting the captive nuts in, there are a couple of blocks here and here, and this allows the screw to go in from the bottom and hold the case together when we put the back on. It can be a bit tricky. And there we go. Once you have the nut in the spot, what you can do is drop in a bit of super glue. You just want it to go around the edge of the nut. So while that's curing, we found these tiny USB boards which allow us to relocate the micro USB port to the back of the case. What we want to do is connect some wires to the ground and the 5-volt line and connect those to the back of the Raspberry Pi. One side is labeled ground and the other side is labeled VBus. And VBus in the case of micro USB is going to mean plus 5 volts. Now we just want to give a quick dab of solder on the other side. There we go. I'm just going to take the inky display off there for the moment. And so the pads we need to connect 5 volts to the back of the Pi are these two here. So I'm first going to load them up with a bit of solder. Okay. Trim these wires a bit shorter. What you may find is that the insulation recedes a bit when you heat the wire up, so it only needs to be short. So now the one furthest away from the PCB edge is the 5-volt one. There you go. So that's the back part of the case ready. Hopefully the nut has glued in now. So to fit the inky fat into this particular case, it just slides in like that, clips down, done. What I like to do in this case is remove the ribbon cable connector for the camera because it just gives a bit more clearance. I'm never going to be using this Pi again for a camera connection, so I'm quite happy to pull this off, and it should just, yeah, there we go. But you can fit it in without doing that, it just is a bit tight, that's all. And then you're just going to make sure these pins line up, push that together, and then hopefully if those cables are not too long. goes together like that. We'll see if that nut glued now. Yes. And there we have it. So now when we plug in the cable, you can do so straight in the back. So now we have two completed devices. So now that the cable's coming out the back and it's in a nice little case, it's perfect for placing on like a desk or a nightstand or anything like that. So that's it. Thanks for watching, thanks for following along, and I hope we've inspired you to build your own Inky shop. See you next time. Bye.